June 26, 2026. Just before 6 in the evening, a two-seat light sport plane strikes CITIC Tower, Beijing's tallest skyscraper, 528 meters above the central business district. The pilot is killed. 13 are injured. Within hours, footage begins disappearing from Chinese social media, and the central question remains unanswered. How did a small aircraft reach a landmark high-rise in one of the most tightly controlled airspaces on Earth? Chaoyang District's official records place the point of impact on the eastern facade of the skyscraper, situated immediately adjacent to the heavily trafficked East 3rd Ring Road. Local authorities verified the crash time at precisely 5:55 p.m. as the evening rush hour began in the central business district. While early online accounts fluctuated, municipal emergency services established a concrete casualty count. The pilot, who operated the aircraft alone, did not survive the collision. On the street level and within the lower floors of the structure, 13 individuals sustained injuries, primarily from falling glass and secondary debris. These numbers represent the complete, verified human toll of the event. At 109 stories tall, the building, locally known as China Zun, remained structurally intact, though surrounded by immediate police cordons and emergency vehicles. This baseline of facts serves as the starting point for civil aviation investigators, separating verified physical events from the speculation that quickly followed the impact. The aircraft involved in the collision was a Sunward SA60L Aurora, a Chinese-manufactured two-seat single-engine light sport plane bearing the registration B12PP. Flight tracking records from Flight Radar 24 associate this specific airframe with Shuangyue General Aviation, featuring a carbon fiber composite body and a 100 horsepower Rotax engine. This model is commonly utilized for flight training and private recreation. On the afternoon of June 26, the flight began at Beijing Shifosi Airport, located approximately 30 miles east of the city. Transponder logs show the aircraft departed at 5:40 p.m., climbing to an altitude of roughly 2,000 feet. For the first 12 minutes, the plane maintained a steady course and a speed of approximately 210 knots. At 5:52 p.m., the tracking record shows a sudden, sharp heading change to the west, directing the aircraft straight toward the East 3rd Ring Road corridor. This deviation represents the last verified position before the transponder signal vanished from tracking screens. Aviation safety analysts caution that while this tracking data provides a geographic outline of the flight's final minutes, it has clear limitations. A DSB telemetry can establish altitude, heading, and ground speed, but it cannot explain the underlying cause of the flight's sudden turn. Because light sport aircraft of this weight class are not equipped with crash-survivable flight data recorders or cockpit voice recorders, investigators must reconstruct the event using external radar logs and physical wreckage. This tracked data cannot verify pilot inputs, engine performance, or potential onboard emergencies. It establishes the physical path of the aircraft toward the city, but leaves the mechanical status of the engine and the conditions inside the cockpit at the moment of the turn completely unverified. The physical impact left a localized puncture on the skyscraper's eastern facade, marked by a hole where two double-glazed glass panels were completely dislodged. Within hours, municipal emergency crews stabilized the site, using temporary wooden boarding to seal the exposed gap against wind and weather. While the visual of a high-altitude breach appears severe, structural and facade engineers explain that modern curtain walls function entirely independently of a skyscraper's load-bearing core. Because the exterior glass and aluminum support mullions are designed strictly as a protective envelope, a highly localized strike of this scale does not compromise the building's massive steel and concrete frame. Engineers prioritize immediate safety checks on the surrounding panels to ensure no further glass is dislodged by wind pressure at that altitude. Specialized teams immediately launched systematic interior inspections, verifying that the concrete floor plates behind the impact zone remained fully intact. For the occupants inside, this localized performance of the curtain wall meant the primary safety hazard was restricted to falling debris on the street below, leaving the internal escape routes and structural integrity of the 528-meter tower entirely secure. Following these initial assessments, technicians deployed high-altitude rigging to monitor the surrounding facade elements for microfractures. The location of the collision immediately intensified the focus on the event. CITIC Tower stands as the centerpiece of Beijing's central business district, an urban zone defined by high-value commerce and political sensitivity. The tower serves as the headquarters for the state-owned CITIC Group, anchoring an area that houses prominent corporate operations, including offices associated with Alibaba. This surrounding neighborhood is a highly secure intersection of global finance and diplomacy. Located along the East Third Ring Road, the tower sits within walking distance of the embassies of the United States, the United Kingdom, and France. The surrounding blocks contain a dense concentration of major domestic and international financial institutions. The widespread attention was driven by the sensitivity of this specific zone rather than the scale of the physical damage. An unexpected flight entering this heavily monitored corridor represents a direct disruption to one of the most secure and economically vital districts in the Chinese capital. Beijing's inner airspace is among the most heavily monitored and restricted in the world. Class A airspace dominates the capital, with a strict general ban on unauthorized small aircraft operating over the urban core. Even low-altitude flight is tightly policed. A regulatory update on May 1st required all recreational drones to obtain explicit government approval. For a manned light sport aircraft to fly within this zone, it must clear a complex sequence of flight plan approvals, military air defense coordination, and active air traffic control clearances. The official investigation centers on these regulatory barriers. Investigators are currently auditing air traffic control records, transponder data, and airspace authority logs to determine if any route authorization existed or how the aircraft bypassed active enforcement protocols. Airspace analysts indicate that the inquiry is examining these structural protocols rather than pilot intent, focusing on how the flight path was managed. Any findings may prompt a broader review of Beijing's general aviation routing procedures, air traffic control communication, and the enforcement of its permanent inter-city exclusion zones. The primary public source of information from Chinese authorities came via a brief social media post. Hours after the impact, the Chaoyang district government published a notice on its official WeChat account, confirming the 5:55 p.m. crash time, the pilot's death, and the 13 street-level injuries. Beyond this initial notice, official public communications remained highly restricted. On Chinese social media platforms like Weibo and Douyin, posts, photos, and eyewitness videos of the crash began disappearing within hours of the event. Under these conditions, verified reporting remains the only reliable source of information. The official investigation by the Civil Aviation Administration of China is ongoing, and both the mechanical cause of the flight's deviation and the pilot's motive remain unestablished. Media and transparency analysts note that these information gaps make it necessary to evaluate official updates strictly by what is verified rather than what is left unsaid. In highly controlled information environments, a lack of detailed official updates often fosters speculation, making strict adherence to confirmed physical evidence essential for understanding the event. Beijing's skies are among the most heavily monitored on Earth, yet a light aircraft breached them. Until the official investigation concludes, the vulnerability of this airspace remains an unanswered question. What do you think this incident reveals about urban security? Share your thoughts in the comments.